Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction. The talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org, for more info, or you can email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Barbara M. Schuck. We're going to be discussing her new book, Jared's Path, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Barbara was brought to People of Distinction today by some of the best movers in the business, UR Link Publishing. If you have a book that you'd like moved, move it through UR Link. You can find them at urlinkpublishing.com. And guys, I am so beyond excited to have Barbara here on the line with us today, because the books that we're going to be discussing, and we're really going to be focusing primarily on her first book, Jared's Path, but then we'll briefly discuss her sequel, Jared's Path 2. Both of the stories are direct narratives from Barbara's life and from her personal experience, but the underlying theme that is discussed and brought up within both of the novels are really messages of unconditional love, regardless of circumstances, and unconditional love specifically geared towards children, and how every child should always be given the opportunity to have the best life possible. And it's about hope and encouragement and staying on a positive path. And we're going to be talking specifically about Jared's Path, but it's really about the underlying message and how you would apply it to your own life, staying on your positive path. We're all facing a tough time currently in our human family, given the coronavirus pandemic, and we're facing a lot of adversity. But the biggest thing that can be taken here, and the biggest thing that always needs to be known, is there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to make it through, but you have to stay positive. And you have to continue to battle against these circumstances, because at the end of the day, there's so much to be learned and gained from that. And how we balance the nuances that way and continue to move forward is really where a lot of the lessons can be harnessed and gained that way, and the knowledge can be gained that way. And I'm, like I said, I'm just so excited to have Barbara here to discuss this book and her personal story, because it's a bit of a tearjerker, okay? And you definitely want to sit down and get lost in a great book and a great journey. Then you have to run on over to Amazon and Barnes & Noble and pick up Jared's Path, or Jared's Path 2, because you will definitely not be disappointed. So without further ado, we have Barbara M. Schuck on the line with us. Barbara, first and foremost, thank you so much for being a guest on People of Distinction. How are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, Barbara, listen, my audience, I'm sure, is tired of hearing me speak. So let's just jump right in, okay? Jared's Path. Tell us a little bit about the book.
Okay. Jared's Path is about my son. Jared was born with a lot of medical conditions, and as he grew older, he got more medical conditions. So actually, he was supposed to have a short lifespan, okay, but we got through it and proved him wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about dealing with a special needs child with medical conditions, being an advocate is most important, working with doctors, therapists in schools, society, just the overall program of having a child with special needs.
Absolutely. And, listen, the title, Jared's Path, I mean, right off the bat, straightforwardly, we can see how that is contrived, right? And how that is applicable to the story now that we know a brief synopsis of what the story entails. But can you walk our listening audience through the creative process? I mean, how did you develop that title and bring that to fruition?
Okay. Sure. Jared's Path, Jared is my son's name, okay? And his journey was a lot different than a lot of kids. It's not regular like you see normal kids grow and have sickness and all. Jared's was different. So I look at it as I'm more of a spiritual person.
Hmm.
So I'm looking at from the spiritual side that we were going through all the challenges and the ups and downs and everything because that was our path to journey through. Okay, so it's more leaning towards my spiritual values that, I believe everything comes along at its time. And so to me, it was a path that we were going down.
Absolutely.
So that's where I got the name for it.
Yeah, and obviously, we're talking specifically about Jared's path, but what was wonderful about what you just said is, of course, Jared wasn't on this path by himself, right?
Right.
You and the rest of the family were all along this path with him, that way. So, of course, again, it's really a culmination of everybody's paths intertwining
Sure.
that way. Um,
Right. Right.
Now, clearly, we're talking about your son specifically, and that was what inspired you to write this story. But tell me and tell my listening audience, I mean, did you always see yourself as a writer? Did you always see yourself as an author? And where did that creative inspiration derive from?
Okay. No, I never gave it a thought about being a writer. That was like the farthest thing from my mind, actually. But after Jared was born and we were looking at different medical conditions, and I was already facing challenges and having to learn a lot of things on my own, I told myself, you know what? People need to know about this. Maybe Jared's path will help other people going down a similar path with their special needs child, because you just don't have that much help along the line when you have these special needs. And Jared was unique with all of his special needs, so I figured that, you know what, this would be a good inspirational, you know, compassionate love book that, just talks about how you can get through things, okay? How you can face the challenges, how you can
Absolutely.
do this, stay courageous, stay positive. Just just let yourself be stronger, because that's what you have to do each day as you conquer more challenges and more challenges. So I just feel like this is going to relate to a lot of people, and a lot of people's going to understand what I'm saying with this.
Yeah, no, I mean that's beautiful, and I completely agree. Again, we're talking specifically about your son and the medical conditions that that you encountered with that. But at the end of the day, again, as I stated in my opening discussion, this is about adversity, right? And adversity will
Right.
manifest itself in a
Exactly.
lot of different ways depending on what path you're traveling along, and that right there is why this is so applicable and why this is so relatable to whatever it is that you're going across, because again, at the end of the day, I don't care who you are, you're going to face your share of adversity, and again, it'll manifest itself in a lot of
Right.
different ways, but that underlying theme and message of perseverance and coming together is inspirational that way, and we love that here at People of Distinction. Now, you started to touch up upon why you felt the story needed to be told, and through your experiences you wanted to kind of relay that because, of course, again, specifically talking about the medical conditions and how beneficial that can be to somebody else. I speaking from my own experience, I have people in my family that have had medical conditions, and had their share of things that they've come to deal with, and it's really having someone in your family with special needs, and if you haven't actually experienced that, there's so much that doesn't really ever get discussed and doesn't get put out there,
Exactly.
and until you start to have a world that revolves around that, you really don't understand. And what I think is beautiful is there's a lot of books out there, of course, that are almost like a manual or a transcript that you just follow, and it has steps and things to look for. But what's beautiful about your story here is, again, it's a self analysis almost, right? It really tells your story
Right.
specifically, and I think that, again, having that that grounded in realistic circumstances that way, and from your direct perception, will really make it easy for our listening audience here at People of Distinction to be able to relate to. So first and foremost, I commend you for taking on that feat and establishing the story in that way, Barbara. That's beautiful. Now, the next question, kind of tying things up here with Jared's path, you kind of started to go into it already, but that underlying theme that you really want our audience members here at People of Distinction to be able to pull from this interview, one thing that they have to know about Jared's path, what would you say that is?
Okay. I think there's a couple of things. Okay. I think that every child should have a chance to be happy and have the best quality of life possible, no matter what kind of challenges they're facing. And I believe every child needs unconditional love. They all need love. And I also hope that I can give others hope and encouragement to stay on a positive path, so I can give them strength so they can maybe keep this book in the back of their mind and say, well, wait a minute, I remember hearing, reading something about that. Hey, if they can do it, I can do it. Okay.
Absolutely.
So, that strengthens everybody along the path.
Beautifully put. Wonderfully put. Guys, again, here on the line with Barbara M. Schuck. We just finished discussing Jared's Path, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. But that's not it, guys. I mean, listen, we have, as I stated before, Jared's Path. She has also written a sequel to Jared's Path called Jared's Path 2. Not only would you be able to find both of these books on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, but you can also go directly to her personal website. You'll be able to find more information on Barbara, more information on the books, and any other books that she writes in the future. That's going to be barbaramschuck.com. So it's Barbara, traditional spelling, BARBARAM, Schuck, SCHUCK.com. Going into the next book, Jared's Path 2. Tell our listening audience here, Barbara, a little bit about that. And again, we don't want to give too much away, of course, but this is such a powerful story and such an inspirational story that way, and how you've been able to manifest it and put it together for us. Give our audience a little bit of a synopsis on that one, please.
Okay. The second book starts and go into him becoming an adult. Okay, when you turn 18, you become adult. It doesn't matter if you have medical conditions or not. But there's a lot of things you should know about that. Okay, you should know about guardianship, for one, is really important to be aware of. If there's certain things they can't do and they need someone to do it for them. So the path shifts from adolescence into adult. So the second book is the adults of getting into, okay, you're 18, you're older now. You have to change doctors because you can't keep pediatricians anymore. So you got to find a whole different list of doctors again. And then you have your other issues of just, being an adult, to deal with. And things change a little bit more after you turn 18, like it does for all of us. So it's just a transformation from the younger person to the older person from 18 on up.
Absolutely. And as we all know from just living living through those times ourselves, transitioning from your teenage years to your adult years is hard enough as we go, but then just having it compounded with different medical conditions, I'm sure presents its own challenges, as you started to put together and as you really highlight in Jared's Path too. So what I really take from this interview is, again, it's bigger than just any direct experience that you may have with a special needs person or anybody with medical conditions. Of course, that is where Barbara is talking from, and that's where her area of expertise is coming from, because she's lived it. But what's wonderful and what's beautiful about how, again, it's connecting back to our human family here is that the universal message that, again, regardless of the circumstances, kids are kids, and they need to be loved, and they need to be able to live their life to fulfillment, regardless of the challenges that may come with it. I mean, nobody asks for the medical conditions that they're saddled with, right? But just because somebody has medical conditions doesn't mean that they can't live their lives to their fulfillment. As Barbara has already put, I mean, every child deserves to live a happy life regardless of circumstances, right? And they should be given the hope and the encouragement to be able to fully fulfill that path. And she's done it. She's a living, breathing example of what the challenge is, of course, that it takes to get there, but also that it can be done. And I think that is beautiful and, again, so inspirational. So you have to get out there to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or directly to her personal website, barbaramschuck.com. Pick up Jared's Path and Jared's Path 2. You definitely will not be disappointed by what you learn. Barbara, thank you so much for being a guest with us on People of Distinction and bringing this book to our table. I can't thank you enough for how much we appreciate it.
You are very welcome. And I hope this goes out and can help a lot of people.
I'm sure it will. There's no doubt in my mind that it will.